Congressman Thomas Massie is a Republican of Kentucky. Congressman Khanna is a Democrat of California. And they join me now. It's good to have you gentlemen both here. I want to start with you, Congressman Khanna, because you were able to speak to some of these survivors today in a closed-door session of the House Oversight Committee, and I wonder if you could just tell us how that went.
Well, I was not in the room because I want the survivors to share their own stories tomorrow, and for it to be clear that neither Congressman Massie or I spoke to them. But from what I heard from colleagues, it was harrowing, it was disgusting. People came out in tears. And what we need to remember is this is not partisan. This is not anti-Trump. This is about standing with survivors. This is about protecting kids. This is about morality. It's something that unites progressives, independents, moderates, and MAGA supporters. And tomorrow is going to be a moral and spiritual reckoning for this country.
Congressman Massie, this House Speaker Mike Johnson clearly would rather that this not happen. I think it's a fair thing to say. I want to play you his response to the House discharge petition today and get your response to it in terms of how you understand where things stand. Here's what Mike Johnson had to say earlier.
So the discharge petition from Thomas Massie and Khanna, I hope I'm using the right word, will ripen soon?
Well, no, I guess it would if they get the right signature.
If they get the signature,
but it's now a moot point. It's not even necessary. I mean,
you don't think it's going to happen?
There may be a floor vote of one measure or another. We have our own resolutions to do all this, but I don't. It's sort of not necessary at the point because the administration is already doing this.
So that's the line that the administration is already doing everything. So there's no purpose in this. Are you ready to throw in the towel?
No, it's hardly a document release. Most of the documents they released are already publicly available. And what Mike Johnson is doing by having his own resolution is to give political cover to those people who aren't supporting the effort by Khanna and I. But here's the problem. When people go through this trove of documents, the political cover is going to go away and they're going to be exposed once again. I think you were right when you said this is the equivalent of the Pam Bondi binders being handed out. They're only going to increase the outrage. And in the meantime, you've got these survivors who are still not getting their justice. By the way, Mike Johnson has panned the legislative effort by Khanna and I, saying it's poorly drafted. But he took 3 pages out of our bill and put them verbatim in his bill. Completely cribbed them. But he took the teeth out of it, is what he did. So he's got a meaningless resolution to provide a fig leaf to the people who are afraid to stand up for these survivors.
Congressman Khanna, are there good faith concerns to be had here? It strikes me there are about the fact that normally when a criminal investigation is closed or it's reached its end, right, that people that may have come up in the course of that investigation are not publicly released because there's genuine reputational damage that can come even in the incidental mention or uncorroborated claims. Are you concerned about that at all?
Sure, it's a reasonable concern. First, the resolution protects the identity of all victims. It protects against the release of sensational acts. And the reality is, given that rich and powerful men who abused underage girls have basically had impunity, and that this has gone on for over a decade, well before Donald Trump was there, and that we have ignored victims, and that the President of the United States ran on releasing the files, and that the Attorney General said that there's a client list and the files need to be released, we need to have the overarching value of trust in government be there. And in this case, as an exception, we should release everything and trust the American people to make a distinguishing discernment between someone who got a scholarship grant from Epstein and someone who was at a sex party for Epstein engaged in sex trafficking.
Congressman Massie, you know, one of the things that I find so striking here is that the Bureau of Prisons had to actively sign a waiver to move Ghislaine Maxwell to a facility that is so low security that by the department's own regulation, she cannot be in. And that happens after she met with Todd Blanche and she said that, you know, Donald Trump was always a perfect gentleman. Like, isn't there a role for some congressional oversight here about how exactly that came about?
Oh, absolutely. This is unprecedented, the kind of treatment that she's been given. I think the best way to clear President Trump's name is to release all the files. I actually don't think he's done anything criminal. I think he may be covering for some rich and powerful people that are friends of his. And in fact, some of those billionaires are running ads against me in Kentucky right now. One of them is in Epstein's Black Book. So we're getting close to the center of power here. And I think, embarrassment is not a reason to conceal all of this stuff. We've got to get it out in the open, regardless of whose friends might be incriminated.
Congressman Khanna, do you have a sense that take me through the actual timeline here, and do you have enough confirmed yeses to actually get the number you need? Because I've been covering Congress for 20 years, and I could list you 100 discharge petition stories I've covered, and I don't think I've ever covered one that got over the line.
Don't jinx us, Chris. Don't jinx us. We've got 212 Democrats, and Thomas Massie has done an extraordinary job. We have 4 Republicans already on the first day, so we only need 2 more. I just want to say this about Congressman Massie, and I hope I don't hurt him more in his district by saying nice things. But wherever you are on his ideology, he's a profile in courage. I mean, he's got billions of dollars being spent against him. He's got billions of dollars because people don't want the Epstein release. He's got billions of dollars because AIPAC has been attacking him because he's spoken out for human rights in Gaza. And we don't agree on everything, but I wish there were more members of Congress who voted their conviction and stood up for their conviction. And this would not be possible to get to 218 if it weren't for his leadership.
But don't give me too much of a compliment. If you dig into what he said, Ro Khanna is responsible for 212 of the signatures, and I have to get 6. He will probably get his 200.
Yeah, they're the harder 6.
It's a much. Let me talk about the 4 who are already signed. So we just need 2 more. But it's myself and 3 women: Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nancy Mace, and Lauren Boebert. And these are women taking up for women. And I think we need more men on the Republican side of the aisle to step forward and do the right thing.
Final question for you, Congressman Massie. Is it your understanding the White House is whipping against the vote? That was reporting today, but has that been clear to you?
Oh, absolutely. I've talked to the person who's doing the whipping. I've seen the texts being sent to my colleagues. They are trying very hard to keep this from getting the requisite number of signatures to force the vote. And I think it's foolhardy. I think we'd be served better politically. Obviously, the victims would be served better in terms of justice, but Republicans would be served better politically by just following through on this promise and releasing the files.
Final question to you, Congressman Khanna. Can we expect, to the point we were making before about a lot of the stuff about Epstein has been reported, has been in the public, domain? I mean, Gawker wrote about the Black Book, 10 years ago, maybe? I think I read that piece, right? So a lot of this has been reported. Is it your expectation we will hear or see new things tomorrow from some of these survivors who are going to speak?
Absolutely, we will. And you know what we should listen to is the survivors. And they're saying for closure, they need the Epstein files released. And that's because they believe there's a lot of information in there about people who engaged in assault and abuse of young girls that has not come out. And that's the only way we will have them accountable. And this is something that I hope everyone tunes in tomorrow, 10:30 Eastern time, and that the whole country demands the release of the files. If we do that, I'm confident we're going to get to 218 and force a vote on this.
Congressman Thomas Massie and Congressman Ro Khanna. Gentlemen, thank you both. Appreciate it.